I was in high school in El Paso, Texas, and my pastor had just shared with us that he was no longer going to be able to remain our pastor. He had been pouring his life and energy into our faith community for so many years, and he was so beloved, and yet he had experienced what many were calling pastoral burnout. I was absolutely devastated. I had no idea what that was going to be like, because this is really the only pastor that I had ever known. His name was Bob Brooks, and he was the man that invited me to explore what it meant to really let God's love be a part of my life. When I first shared an experience of feeling the love of Christ, Bob was the first person that I wanted to share that with. When I first sensed that God was calling me to a new place of walk together, that God was calling me to ministry, Bob was the person I wanted to talk to and understand more of what this call to ministry might be like. And now my pastor was going to be leaving. Now what was I going to do? We had a number of people that came and shared messages with us as he took some time out for respite and finally let us know he couldn't go further. A new pastor would be coming, and that would be a hard change to make. During the Lenten season, I remember as we were waiting and preparing for who it might be that would come next, our pastor who was with us at the time shared a message that challenged me and made me really think as a young person what the next steps in my own faith journey might be like. The message said, "O love that will not let me go." It was based on the hymn that might be familiar to many of you. "O love that will not let me go." It's still one of my favorite hymns. And as I think about the message that was shared that day and what I remember from the days that followed, was that there was an opportunity for us to really recognize that no matter who the pastor was of our church, our heart, our commitment, our hope was placed in the love of God, in each other, and in knowing that God would see us through. At the end of that Lenten season, as we were celebrating the joy of Easter, it was announced who our next pastor would be, and we were excited. I didn't know who this person was any more than anybody else in the congregation at the time. And yet, somehow or another, that pastor became one of my favorites as well. Maybe there really was something about that whole thought of love that wouldn't let me go, that the church wasn't based on whoever was the pastor. The church wasn't based and determined on what we were doing at any particular given moment. We were grounded in an experience of God's love for us, of knowing, trusting, believing that the love of God would see us through anything and everything. Pastoral change, building expansion, program change, members that came, members that passed, folks that moved on to a new place of faith, new folks that came. We would all be grounded in an experience of God's love that would not let us go. As we make our journey in this season of Lent, I'm reminded of people who have shaped my faith journey. Pastors, members of congregations, others who've walked with me, stood with me, helped me in trying and difficult days, as well as days of hope and new inspiration and joy. The most precious part of this journey of faith for me has been recognizing that God's love has been present the whole time. There may be times when each of us feels a little distant, a little far off in our walk of faith, maybe somewhat off course from where we want to be. And yet the season of Lent reminds me that God is not distant. Love is present. God is with us, holding us, carrying us through, helping us to see what's just around the corner, helping us to have hope. As we come to our Lenten journey in this time, I'm so excited about the hope that God gives to each one of us. We see new possibilities, new hope just around the corner. And most of all, we know that God is present with us. Love is here. Love that will not let us go. And that hope, that presence of God, that participation as the family of faith helps us to be able to say in the Lenten season and every season, we worship, we love, we serve, no matter what. That's who we are as St. John's United Church of Christ, Fullerton. And that's my memory in this season of hope.